Hello everyone, and welcome to chapter 132 of The Last Thoughts of a Busy Mind. This one titled Our Flag Means Death. Sorry about that. I am still coughing and my throat is sore. Hopefully you'll be used to that by now. This season, I think, unintentionally had a theme, and that was me being sick. Yay for that. Yes, by the way, before we go on, I do mean the show. Our Flag Means Death. I'm gonna be talking about it. Do not worry though, I'm not gonna be spoiler heavy. Though, if you haven't seen the first season, I suggest going and watching that before continuing to listen to this. Because I do talk about that. I do need to talk about that for getting at what I'm getting at. So yeah, you should go on, watch it if you haven't. But for the second season, which ended a couple of, like a day ago, not a couple of, literally, it ended a day ago. I'm gonna be keeping it extremely minimal when it comes to spoilers, like minimum amount of spoilers. Before we go on, my drink today is 7-Up. It's, oh Jesus, come on, get off. It's oh, sorry about that. Yes, great. Again, I might cough. I will not do it at the microphone. I will do it off the mic. Anyways, when I'm talking about our flag means death, you might imagine that this has been a lackluster week because I'm talking about a TV show. You'd be not wrong, but you'd not be right either. I played a lot of games. I played a lot of Crusader Kings 3 again. Last year around the same time I got really into it. This year seemed to be no different. I watched the magnificent few videos about Age of Mythology. I'm highly recommending going and watching them. I'm actually going to put them in the description. Put one of them in the description, the big one. I'm actually going to write it down right now because otherwise I will forget. Why doesn't this pen work? Oh yeah, it's working. So there is this too, and like a couple of hours ago, I played my first game of Brass Birmingham to the full. So even when it comes to board games, it was an exciting time. But no, I'm gonna talk about this TV show. Why, you might ask? It is because it ended, and I don't know if they're gonna get a third season or not. They left a lot of things open, but they ended on a definite note in the sense that if they don't get a third season, it is still a satisfying ending of sorts. And that brings me to what I want to talk about. For those of you who don't know, Our Flag Means Death is a show made by David Jenkins and starring Rhys Darby and Taika Waititi. Rhys Darby portrays Stede Bonnet, aka the Gentleman Pirate. If you haven't seen it, there is a video by the internet historian I remember watching before the show came out that explains the whole idea of Stede Bonnet pretty well. You know what? I'm actually going to put it in the description as well. I'm gonna put the internet historian Stede Bonnet video. So there is that, and Taika Waititi portrays Blackbeard. Now Blackbeard and Stede Bonnet have a very intermingled history together. If you watch that video again, it explains it much better than I do, and because I'm not trying to explain it. In the show though, it is historical fiction. They do play the characters based on them, and there are like other famous pirates like Calico Jack and Ned Lowe. Ned Lowe is in the second season. and it hand waves at actual piracy. Oh, Israel Hands, Easy Hands is in this, and he's actually major character. He was Blackbeard's second in command. Um, in real life, I mean, in the show too, but the show is historical fiction. And at the end of the first season, we get an incredible LGBT romance, a gay romance, and it became a romantic comedy with gay protagonists. It's actually a pretty good show, and the romantic angle of it is really good. Like, it's really well developed. It is incredibly sweet. Like, it, honestly, I'm looking at the 7 Up right now because my mouth tastes sweet, and I was gonna say disgustingly sweet because the 7 Up is disgustingly sweet. But yeah, it is disgustingly sweet. It's cute. It's childish. It's immature. It almost feels like a teen romantic comedy with LGBT themes, and in that regard, it's actually doing a great job. I do recommend seeing it. Now, the first season was kind of a sleeper hit, and that brings me to another thing. Sometimes it's fun and hard being fan of something. Let me say it this way. I'm pretty sure a lot of people, when they watch the first season of Ted Lasso, or even shows that have gotten a really terrible fandom like Rick and Morty, they thought, oh, this is something great. And then seeing the show that they thought was something cool getting more and more attention, good and bad, and becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, and then just as big as it can be, with a lot of budget, a lot of support from the network, and genuinely becoming this big, expensive project that the networks were supporting. And each time they came out, it would mean an event, you know. And the best example of it is Ted Lasso, I think. Ted Lasso came out, the first season was so. It was fun, the jokes were singular, and in a sense that it was only one joke. But the characters were fun, and the setting was fun, and everybody had fun watching it. And then it became probably the best thing Apple TV Plus had at the moment. And well, it kept going and became bigger, had bigger budgets, had bigger stars in it. Um, Football characters, I don't know. I'm okay. Joke time. When in the last season of Ted Lasso, they put Pep. Oh my God, is it LaGuardia or Guardiola? I don't know. The bald guy for Manchester City. And one of my friends who I was watching this show basically said, "I know you don't know who that is. It's this guy." And yeah, that much. That's how little I know about America. No, I'm not American. English football or soccer. I'm gonna call it football. So, anyways, Ted Lasso was a perfect example of that. Suddenly, this little show, to the power of its fans, became something bigger. It got a lot more support. It got longer. The budget got a lot more. And it can show you that sometimes there are sleeper hits that can become these massive things. Same is true for Rick and Morty. If you go back long enough, same is true for Doctor Who and Star Trek. Both of them, Star Trek in particular, losing all of its appeal by the third season of the original series, and then slowly gaining that back through syndication and just basically having a good fandom, which led to the next generation. And then, well, it became Star Trek. I mean, it was Star Trek before that too. The animated series was there, the movies were there, but TNG is where Star Trek became the multimedia monster that it is, I think. So Our Flag Means Death had that. Like the first season is so. I'm not gonna lie. It wasn't something I'd say was magnificent. It wasn't, I don't know, Monty Python's Flying Circus. It's a show that I think is the perfect comedy show. I know I have the taste of a boomer. My second favorite comedy show is Blackadder. Sue me, please don't sue me. But Our Flag Means Death. The first season was so, but it did have a core. It had an emotional core, which a lot of people resonated with, me included. I just loved watching these characters. I loved watching their interactions. The and I despised Israel Hands in the first season. I hated him, and that sort of reaction is not nothing. Ted Lasso had that with Nate. I hated Nate at the end of the second season as well. So Our Flag Means Death has everything in its power to become something bigger with a bigger budget and getting a lot more support from HBO. Um, it didn't get that. Okay. The main reason I want to talk about Our Flag Means Death is second season is actually better. It's much more cohesive. I like the writing better. I think the characters are finally coming into their own instead of always having a foot in historical fiction and always having a foot in their own story, and this time just completely getting rid of anything that is remotely historically accurate and just sticking with the characters, and it's fantastic. Like Ned Lowe episode alone is great. And I like watching Bronson Pinchot do other stuff. I know people make fun of him for Langoliers and stuff like that, but Langoliers was fun. He was the best part of it. So, what happened when Our Flag Means Death season 2 came out? A few things became really apparent. First of all, it's supposed to be 8 episodes instead of 10. The first season was 10 episodes, the second episode is 8. And the release schedule is weird. First, we get 3 episodes, then 2, then 2, then 1. It's basically rushing towards an end. It seems like they have it and they just want to uh, release it. They want to show it and say that, okay, we're done, now can we go? Which is weird because, part of being apparently it's on Max now, and it's not like Max doesn't fucking waltz fully made movies. I'm talking about Batgirl. I'm talking about fucking Batgirl. It's so annoying and so rage inducing. And with the SAG-AFTRA still going on, the strike going on, the first season seems more unsure than ever, but it actually shows you the reason why this is important and why producers and the network executives are the fucking scum of the earth. This show had something. I'm not gonna tell you it's the best show that was ever made because it's not. It's not even close. But it had something. It had something of an emotional core. It was an LGBT story, which meant it had limited appeal when it came to many international markets. They probably couldn't sell it in China, for example, because LGBT wasn't something that Disney where you can hand wave away and like censor. It was the main feature of this show. And so, yeah, they just rushed into the end. They slashed the budget. It looked much cheaper than the first season, and it felt much cheaper. They couldn't really use a lot of locations. A lot of characters were reused. A lot of them just wasn't there. I don't know why. And there wasn't a variety of locations. It just kept coming back to the same ones over and over again, which meant, okay, the budget isn't as big and they can't explore as much. They really fucked them over with removing 2 episodes, which is a lot, by the way. For writers, I understand this. 2 episodes worth of story exploration, character development is not nothing. The reason the ending of the second season, if you watched it, I'm not going to spoil it, feels a little bit rushed, is because it doesn't have enough time to grow. They just had to cram it in, because when you look at it, you needed that journey to get to that ending, but that ending feels rushed because it is one episode. Everything happens in the span of 20 minutes, but in fact it needed the backstory of getting there, but it needed at least 2 episodes to get going. Because a lot of things happened in the last episode. And so, yeah, this is about the dickish way the networks treat shows that they think have limited appeal. The reason Ted Lasso and Rick and Morty became this big stuff is that they had wide range of appeal. Rick and Morty to the wrong kind of people, but still they had appeal. And Adult Swim and Apple TV Plus were both not very much known for their big hits, you know. So when Apple TV Plus found Ted Lasso, it just ran with it. It when it won awards, they just ran with it. They supported it. They gave it so much money just so they can have it. The same is true for Adult Swim. When Rick and Morty became as big as it did, it gave them another chance of being, playing with the big guys. Now they had this show which rivaled South Park, and like Simpsons haven't been Simpsons for a while now, so it just felt like the next big thing. Our Flag Means Death had the potential. I put the first season of Our Flag Means Death next to the first season of Rick and Morty and Ted Lasso, and I think it's comparable. Both other shows had terrible first seasons when you look at where they ended up. And Ted Lasso in particular, I don't think I remember anything from the first season other than the last speech of, Coach Ted. And that's all you needed. Our Flag Means Death has that moment. It's a kiss between Steve Bonnet and Blackbeard, and it's fantastic. It's a great scene. And everything leading up to that is great. But it has limited appeal. It's an LGBT project. Of course, it doesn't have the appeal of a straight white guy going to England to teach football. And it's from a network that is used to having hits. So when it came to a point where they realized, this show may not reach everyone and touch everyone not touch. Basically, when it feel like it doesn't, it's not going to appeal to everyone, they just fucking executed it. They slashed the budget, they slashed the episode count, and the way they released it, really just hampers it. Like, you don't have enough time to go from the Nedlow episode to the next episode. The fact that they released the first 3 episodes together, it just doesn't give you, these episodes were built around the weekly schedule. You can literally feel it, that big moments happen and they want you to think about it for a week, the same way Succession did, or the same way fucking Ted Lasso did. I'm sorry I keep bringing up Ted Lasso. It's just that it's the similarities are very, very telling, and they just released them all together. They completely ruined any momentum the show had, and it almost looks like an act of sabotage. And it's sad that off the top of my head, I can think of several shows that got this treatment. Miracle Workers got it at its last season, where it sort of just came and went. And it was something weird where they released the first episode and then unreleased it. So yeah. Basically, if you like these shows, you do have a little bit of a power, but ultimately, if the show doesn't have the appeal, if the show doesn't feel like it's gonna be big, the networks are gonna fucking kill it. Our Flag Means Death deserves much better. Rhys Darby and Taika Waititi deserve better. Blackbeard and Steed deserve better. Easy Hands deserved better. Yes, he does. So yeah. Good second season. Go watch the second season. I'll see you next week.